Good morning, dear ones, and welcome everyone to Temple Buddhist Center's Sunday morning service. My name is Victor, and I'm honored to be of service this morning. We hope that our service today finds each and every one of you happy and healthy, but please know that if you are struggling in any way, we hope that our service today and our Sangha can be a source of refuge for you as we open our hearts to you and your loved ones. And of course, a big welcome to all of the folks joining us from literally different countries around the world. So we've got folks joining us from many wonderful different countries and places. So welcome to our Sangha near and far. We are excited to be able to offer our services and celebrate together in person once again, and we want to do so as safely as possible. And so masks are recommended. Respect and tolerance, however, are encouraged. So we appreciate your part in helping to keep our whole Sangha safe and healthy. Let's begin this morning with 3 conscious breaths. A conscious breath is where you seal the mouth, breathe deeply through the nose, hold that breath for a moment, and then release slowly so that the exhale is longer than the inhale. Let's begin. Holding that breath for a moment, relaxing the shoulders, dropping the arms, and then releasing slowly. In a long, slow, metered release. And as you release, take a moment to presence yourself, to check in with the body. What is most present at this moment? And a second conscious breath together. Holding for a moment, feeling the fullness of the lungs, and releasing slowly. And as you release, giving yourself permission to just unplug from that energy of going and doing, perhaps preparing the form this morning, or making meals, or walking furry loved ones. All those things that our morning routine and ritual often requires. as we take a moment to unplug from that energy as we cultivate the energy of just being. And a third conscious breath together. And releasing slowly. And as you release, bringing your awareness into this moment, the present moment. Fully arriving in the here and now. Here at Temple Buddhist Center, we like to begin our services with a little bit of chanting. Chanting is an integral part of every tradition. Chanting is not about being a singer. Chanting is about having a voice. It is about a deep expression of that which is sacred within you and sharing that with the universe. Our chant today is Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. These are known as the Brahma Viharas, or the four faces of the heart. Metta is love or loving kindness. Karuna is compassion. Mudita is joy, and Upekkha is peace or equanimity. It's who we truly are. And so we're going to invite Christine to tone us in as we take a conscious breath. Together. Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. 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 Once more. Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. Love, compassion, joy, and peace. And so just a quick reminder, at the altar at the rear of the meditation hall are cough drops, there's tissues, there are also listening devices as well as blankets. So if there's anything that you need, we hope that you can find some comfort there to help you with that. Here at Temple Buddhist Center, we practice Western Buddhism. Western Buddhism is a blend of Eastern philosophy and Western psychology. And this new and exciting form of spirituality is dynamic. It's growing, changing, and transforming with us. It is active. It is inclusive. And it focuses on core Buddhist insights as well as mindfulness, meditation, and their practical applications in our daily lives. Our goal here is not to get everyone to agree on a specific lineage or philosophy or sect of Buddhism, but rather it's on a shared experience of mindfulness, oneness, and love. Whether we are chanting together, sharing from the heart, or spending time in noble silence, we respect that you will participate at a level that is comfortable for you. We take refuge in the three jewels and acknowledge these core values as expressions of the awakened mind, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We value awareness of our Buddha nature, as well as the Buddha nature of all beings, bringing a fresh new perspective to each and every precious moment. And the second jewel, the Dharma, the truth teachings that release us from fear, delusion, and help us to realize the true nature of who we are. And the third jewel, Sangha, our spiritual community, where we come together to support each other, to practice the teachings, and to help each other along every step of the path. So let's take a moment now to silence any cell phones or electronic devices, or if you're at home and you need to put the puppies out or put a blanket over the bird cage, whatever you need to do to help create an atmosphere or an environment conducive to contemplation and meditation. We're going to begin with the prayer of refuge, and we say that 3 times for the 3 jewels. Together, in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. And so as we enter a time of meditation, if you have an extensive practice, then we invite you to practice in a way that is fitting for you this morning. If you are new to meditation, we're going to begin with a dedication of intention. We will awaken the bell 3 times for the 3 jewels, and we will spend approximately 10 to 12 minutes connecting with each other in consciousness, spending time in noble silence. Afterwards, we will sound the return bell, and then it will be time for our guest speaker today, Mr. Dave Owens, to deliver the Dharma talk, or the teaching. And so let's begin with a conscious breath together. Releasing that breath slowly, and as the breath releases, just bringing our awareness to the body, noticing any points that might be contracted, any points that might be tense. Checking in with the body itself, partnering. Body, speech, and mind, in perfect oneness, I send my heart along with the sound of the bell. May the hearers awaken from forgetfulness, transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow, and realize the true nature of who they are.
As the sound of the bell fades, take a moment to investigate all the feelings and all the phenomena that are happening in the body right now. Thinking is happening, hearing is happening, seeing, even with the eyes closed, smelling, tasting, and physical and emotional sensations are all present. Allowing all these experiences to be as they are. Bring the awareness of breathing to the foreground as you allow all the other sense experiences to fade to the background. Take a moment to investigate where you feel the breath most easily. Usually at the inside of the nose or in the rising and falling of the abdomen. Use that as your point of focus and feel the breath coming and going. You'll notice that your attention won't stay with the point of focus, and that's okay. Doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong or that you can't meditate. Just means that you, like everyone else, have thoughts. Each time you notice your attention wandering, gently redirect it back to the sensations of the breath. It's important to bring a quality of friendliness and kindness to yourself. Of course your attention wanders. That's just what the mind does. Just allow yourself that simple kindness and gently redirect back to the breath. Right here, each breath is the present moment. A simple way to stay focused is to acknowledge in on the in breath and out on the out breath. Feel the breath coming and going. And allow yourself to be present. This moment, right here, right now. With each breath, just allow yourself to be without worrying about where you need to go or what you need to do. All that matters right now is this moment. Each time your mind wanders, just acknowledge that it's happened and gently redirect back to the sensations of breathing. In just a moment, we'll sound the return bell. You'll notice that the mind almost constantly wanders and returns. It's important to be kind and gentle with yourself throughout the process. As we end this meditation, and you bring your attention back to the space around you, continue to be kind and gentle with yourself.
And so on behalf of Temple Buddhist Center, we are so honored and to celebrate Veterans Day this week. There are many members of our community, both near and far, that are retired service members, reserve, or even active duty. And so on behalf of that, we felt it appropriate today to let Dave Owens, one of our very own members of the Sangha and also a veteran, to share with us today. So we're again honored to have you here today, Dave. Again, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. Dave is an active member of the Sangha. He's involved in a lot of things, volunteers every opportunity that he can. He spent 6 years in the military, in the medical corps. And today he facilitates the Recovery Dharma group on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m., as well as volunteers for TBC in a number of other ways. So again, good morning and welcome, Dave. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us.
Hi. As Victor said, my name's Dave. I'm one of the group secretaries for the Recovery Dharma group. And Recovery Dharma is an addiction recovery program that's based on the teachings of the Buddha. It's open to addicts of all kinds, whether it be a substance addiction like alcohol or drugs, or a process addiction like gambling or self-harm. So all are welcome. So if you or a loved one might benefit from something like that, feel free to talk to me after the service, and I'll be happy to give you a little bit more information about that. So one of the things that I learned during my time in the military is military is full of interesting little catchphrases that you don't often hear in the civilian world. Some of them are a bit more G-rated than others, but the one that I wanted to talk about today is embrace the suck. And it's kind of a funny phrase on the surface, but it's actually very Buddhist in nature. Who would have thought that my first real introduction to Buddhist thought would have come from the Army? See, many times before starting a training exercise or a mission, there would be a lot of groans and grumbles, and people would be saying, well, this is going to suck, or this sucks, and particularly among the lower enlisted. And this would usually be met with a response from one of the higher-ups of, well, embrace the suck. What's that actually mean? According to UrbanDictionary.com, which is an increasingly useful resource for figuring out what all the latest cool kid phrases are, to embrace the suck means to consciously accept or appreciate something that is extremely unpleasant but unavoidable for forward progress. See, many times throughout our day, we're faced with unpleasant tasks or duties that are just part of life. Everything has a feeling tone of pleasantness, unpleasantness, or neutrality. And just because something is unpleasant, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad or that it should be avoided. It's just that sometimes those unpleasant tasks are necessary for forward progress. Sometimes we just have to accept and embrace them no matter how unpleasant they may be. How many times have you had something unpleasant happen and you let it ruin your day? Maybe you woke up late and had to skip breakfast in order to make it to work on time. Did you let a few hours of hunger and discomfort affect every other aspect of your day? Or did you just say, well, that sucked and I'll just have to sit with this for a bit and I'll just have a good lunch? If you think you're having a bad day, just really think about it for a moment. Do you let the unpleasant moments cancel out all the good things that happened that day? You woke up, you're breathing, you're able to experience life. Change, uncertainty, and unpleasantness are part of life's fullness. I've often said I don't have bad days. I have unpleasant moments, but I never have so many unpleasant moments that it makes the whole day bad. Those moments are just part of life. Okay, I'd like to tell you a little story. When I was in the Army, we were on a training mission in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I was tasked with providing medical support for a particular training exercise while the infantry soldiers ran through this training lane, which was in a not so clearly defined wooded area. And I basically just had to hang out back at the staging area where everything started and just wait in case somebody got hurt. So I just sat around in the back of my ambulance and took naps and read books and just kind of generally just took it easy while everybody else did all the hard work. So, pretty sweet deal, right? So after one group had run through the lane, their first sergeant came up to me and said they had a soldier that had rolled his ankle on the course and needed medical attention. So I grabbed my aid bag and the first sergeant and I went off in search of our injured soldier. So after walking along the course for a bit, he said, well, I think we're past where he was. Maybe we should head back the other direction. So we turned back in the other direction to see if we could find our injured Joe, and after walking the other direction for a while and everything looking exactly the same as everything else, we thought, okay, well, maybe he hobbled on along to the end point to see if I was waiting for him there. So the first sergeant decided that he would go back to the end point and see if that's where they were, and me being the hero that I thought I was, I decided I was going to stay out there and keep looking for him. That turned out to be a really bad idea. But I didn't want to potentially leave a fallen comrade out in the woods waiting on a medic. So after about 30 minutes of me walking around in the woods, I gave up and decided I was going to head back to where I'd parked my ambulance to see if anyone was there waiting on me. So I came down from the ridge line where I was and found one of the logging roads out there and started following it back toward what I thought was the area where I'd parked my ambulance. There was just a few problems. See, I didn't have a map or a compass, and it was just overcast enough that I couldn't see the position of the sun to get any kind of a directional bearing. I mean, it was evening, so the sun should have been in the west. And everything pretty much looked exactly the same, and to top it all off, it was starting to rain. So at that point, I'm thinking, well, this really sucks. So I knew if I walked back off into the woods at that point, I was only going to get more lost, especially since the sun was setting and it's getting dark. And the last thing I wanted to do was risk injury in a dark wooded area where I had no idea what was around me. So I decided my best course of action was just to stay put, build a fire, and hope that someone was going to come looking for me. So that's what I did. Made a little campfire in the middle of the logging road and wrapped myself up in one of the emergency blankets from my aid bag, and I just sat down to keep warm and hopefully stay somewhat dry and wait and hope that they send a search party. I would have much rather been sleeping in my own tent on my cot back in the headquarters area and not sitting on the hard ground next to a logging road in the middle of nowhere and getting rained on. And at that point, I really didn't have a whole lot of choice. It sucked, but I had to embrace the suck. If nothing else, I could sleep there until sunrise and hopefully, fingers crossed, find my way back in the morning as long as I didn't get, mauled by bears or eaten by wolves or something. So after I sat there for a couple of hours, I heard people off in the distance calling my name. So I yelled back at them, hoping maybe they'd be able to hear me, but they didn't. So I thought about, okay, well, maybe I could walk over toward where I heard the voices and, maybe that'll help. But then I thought about it and said, okay, well, I could wander off into the woods again in the dark. Didn't have a flashlight. Plus, I didn't have a whole lot of water left, so I would have to use what little water I had to put my fire out. So I knew they couldn't be too far away if I could hear them. But I was cold, I was wet, I was alone, scared. Plus, I knew I was going to get in trouble when I got back. I mean, it sucked. And then I stopped hearing him yelling for me. So I just sat back down and waited. After another couple of hours, I see a helicopter overhead. As it's starting to circle, I see a spotlight come down on me. So I took my emergency blanket, which has a shiny side on it, and I'm waving the shiny side toward them, hoping to signal them. So they circled and landed the helicopter and helped me put out my fire and took me back to our headquarters area. Now, our battalion's command sergeant major was not known for his calm and friendly demeanor. In fact, he was known for the exact opposite of that. Pretty sure his voice had only 2 volume levels, and that's loud and really loud. So of course, he would be the first person that I see as I'm getting off the helicopter. So fully expecting to get chewed out by not only the command sergeant major, but my battalion commander, my platoon sergeant, my company's first sergeant, and pretty much everybody in the entire chain of command, I waited for it, braced myself for it, but it never came. In fact, I actually got commended for how I handled the situation and only mildly reprimanded for wandering off on my own. They sent me to the battalion aid station where the other medics checked me out and treated me for dehydration and then sent me to bed. So needless to say, I spent the rest of that training mission in the rear at the battalion aid station where there was no risk of me wandering off on my own. And at the end of the training mission, when we were completing our after-action review, which is where we would discuss what went well and what didn't and what areas needed improvement and so on, several of the other soldiers actually said the best training they received during that mission was the search and rescue mission to find me. So as much as I hated being lost and cold and wet and tired and hungry, the best thing for me to do in that situation was to embrace it. If I'd kept walking around and trying to find my way back, I would have made it harder for the other guys to find me. I would have been risking further dehydration and possible injury. And by accepting the unpleasantness of my situation without trying to force it to change, I managed to get out of it with no injuries other than a bruised ego. I got a free helicopter ride, and the rest of the unit got some pretty good training. See, that's the funny thing about it. Those unplanned, unpleasant experiences can be great opportunities to learn something you didn't have any intention of learning. The point of that whole training mission had nothing to do with search and rescue, but we all got some great training out of it. And now looking back at the whole situation, I wasn't really in that bad of a situation as I thought. You see, your mind has a tendency to make a mildly unpleasant thing seem infinitely worse than it is. You know, if you have a hectic day at work, or you spill that $6 coffee that you just bought, or the store sold out of your favorite ice cream that you've been looking forward to all day, you know, those things can be really disappointing. They can be upsetting. They can suck. You know, getting laid off or fired, or the end of a relationship, or the death of a friend or a loved one. Those things all really suck. But those are things that happen, and there's not really anything we can do about it. See, we have to remember that our happiness or our suffering is not based on the experience itself, but on our relationship to the experience. Unpleasant experiences are part of life. It's not always going to be sunshine and tacos. Sometimes the experience itself sucks, so you just have to embrace it. Even a bad meal will fill your belly. See, embracing the suck doesn't mean you have to accept a defeatist attitude about unpleasant things. It doesn't mean that we can't or shouldn't try to improve our situation when we can. It just means that sometimes the best thing we can do is embrace it and keep moving forward, secure in the knowledge that things will improve. As Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going. Fighting, resisting, or looking for a way around it, over it, under it, or hoping to find the fast forward button will only create more suffering and more hardship when you're facing unpleasantness. Embracing the suck is not about giving up. It's about giving in. You know, this is the core of upekkha, equanimity. Giving up is saying, I don't care what happens. That's not embracing the suck, that's accepting defeat. Embracing the suck is saying, I can be present for this no matter how unpleasant. It's accepting that even though there are things we can't change, we can still control how we react to them. While we don't always have control over our thoughts and emotions, we can control how we feed them. And I'd like to close with a poem by Rumi called The Guest House. It says, this being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Thank you all for sharing your practice with me.
Thank you so much, Dave. So let's just take a moment to breathe, a moment to embody the teachings, to feel the truth of the experience shared. And if necessary, you might shift your posture or take a conscious breath as we move into metta practice or loving kindness practice. And so as you release that breath, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of you, a full body image of the form that has been given your name and that has accrued the many experiences over the years. And holding this image in your mind's eye, Recite silently to yourself these words of loving kindness. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be safe from inner and outer dangers. May I be well in body and mind. And may I be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of a friend of yours. Holding this image in your mind's eye, let us send to this friend metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of an acquaintance. Perhaps someone you met recently, or a clerk or a cashier, passerby or person in the car in the next lane. And holding this image in your mind's eye, let us send to them metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of a difficult person in your life, a challenging person. Could be a boss or a coworker, a neighbor, classmate, a sergeant, or a political figure. And holding this image in your mind's eye, let us send to them metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of the world, all the plants and the flowers and the trees, animals of the land, the sea, the sky, and all sentient beings. Holding this image in your mind's eye, let us send to them all metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And in the true spirit of Dharma, the Buddhist practice of generosity, temple services here are given freely. In the same way, if you choose to give, please give with a generous heart, which means not in return for anything that you have received today, but rather so that those who may be seeking refuge may find it here in this temple with these teachers and with these teachings. And we take a moment of gratitude for all of our wonderful ambassadors, those folks who have committed to regular monthly electronic giving. It's not about the amount. It's just that the regular monthly giving helps TBC to set a budget. Also, gratitude for all of our wonderful volunteers. There are so many folks who help us in so many ways, both online, offline, in present, or just by holding us in their hearts. There's so many wonderful folks that help us each and every day. Thank you so much to you for everything that you do for us here at TBC. And also gratitude to Christine. Thank you for your beautiful music this morning. And thank you so much, Dave, for sharing your heart and your presence and your practice and your experiences with us. And also a big thank you to all of you, both near and far out there across the world, or sitting right here with us in our in-person Sangha, so to speak. Thank you for sharing your heart and your presence and your practice with us. We are the better for it. And so let us take a moment now as we prepare to end our time together formally with the Bodhicitta dedication. We will recite that out loud together, and then we will sound the closing bell, and I have a few announcements for you of some upcoming events and activities. And so, the Bodhicitta dedication together. May the pure, brilliant sun of Bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably until all are illumined and awakened. And with our hands together in front of our hearts, as we go forth from this place, may we enter each moment in innocence, guided by the wisdom of our hearts. And as we open our hands, open our eyes, shine our light into the world. Namaste. All right, so I actually have an announcement slide, Rob. He didn't know that one was on there. It's we used to do that, and over the pandemic we got away from it, and some people were saying, I really liked it when you put that slide up because I could just take my phone and take a picture of things coming up. But there are a number of things that I want to draw your attention to. Of course, as always, our post-service discussion group meets right down the hall in the Heritage Room. It is also available online. So if you simply stop by our Facebook page or our website, you can click on the post-service discussion group and get that information. Also, we had a number of folks bring a couple bags of books this morning for our lending library. So there's a new infusion of the Dharma. So please stop by and let a book check you out. And then also a couple of things. Next Sunday, the Temple Green team, Jim, is going to be sponsoring a table right out front here that has some ideas for gift giving for the holidays, some sustainable ideas and ways that you can either volunteer or present as a gift to somebody, a donation to some wonderful organizations around Kansas City that work very hard to create a sustainable future for everyone. And then also, of course, on the 20th, next Saturday, is our Temple Buddhist Center quarterly day-long retreat. Whew, that was a mouthful. And so our day-long retreat, this quarter, the theme is Om for the holidays. Finding grace and understanding as we move into the holidays. And I'd just like to say, we've already got over a dozen folks registered, so it looks like it's going to be a very nice turnout. It is available online as well as in person, that retreat, and the retreat's actually held in here, and so you can find out more about that by looking at the Facebook page or the website. And then Rob and a couple other of our young adults are starting a Wake Up Sangha, which is a Sangha that's geared towards some of the issues for our young adults 18 to 35. And so that starts also next Sunday. So next Sunday's a big Sunday. And then coming up this Friday, I'm really excited. We're doing a full moon meditation. We're building a flower mandala, and there is yoga, and there is sound healing, and then from 8 to 9 is kirtan. And kirtan is chanting. We have a full band, and they provide wonderful music and chanting and a call and response. It's really a magical evening, and it's going to be held downstairs in Unity Hall, or what many of us remember as Eden Alley, in that space down there. So you already know it's got a good vibe if it's down there. And then finally, our New Year's retreat is coming up the 29th through the 1st. So registration, again, is available on the Facebook page or our website to get registered for that. The New Year's retreat theme is the fourth turning of the wheel, Buddhism and the Western practitioner. So it's the fourth turning of the wheel, Buddhism and the Western practitioner. So it's a deep dive into this new form of spirituality that we call Western Buddhism. So again, thank you all so much for being here. It's a wonderful day. I hope you're able to go out and enjoy the fall colors. And so as you go into your day, peace and blessings, and I hope we're able to catch up on the sleep that we're going to miss from the game tonight. Lewis and I were joking. It's like it either goes on too long and I miss sleep, or I get all geeked up and I can't sleep. Peace and blessings.